Hey guys, it's Ale, and today I'm coming at you with my first monthly wrap-up. This is also the third video on this channel, and I just cannot believe that I'm actually doing it. Like, I am doing it. I cannot wrap my mind around it. This January, I also, besides reading the 6 books, I also was into True Beauty, the K-drama that is based on the webtoon by the same name, as well as Kimi ni Todoke, the anime. I feel like because of me watching that anime, I got into a reading slump because I feel like I was constantly, like keeping a constant pace from book to book, and then I started watching Kimi ni Todoke, and it was just like, no more books for me. So I am working on getting myself out of it. I really hope I do. If not, I'm just gonna have like 1 book for February, probably, or 0. But without further ado, I'll just go ahead and start with the first book I read this month. The first book I read this month, I got it from the LA Public Library in an ebook format, and that was from Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This book is surrounded by so much hype. And the reason why I ended up getting interested in it, it's because I saw some fan art in Instagram, and you probably don't know me yet, but anytime that I see illustrated covers or any type of fan art of a book that I have not read, most likely I will feel, I'll be interested in it and will end up picking it up or in actually reading it. So that's exactly what happened with this. I'm gonna try to see if I can put the 2 fan arts that caught my eye and actually made me wanted to read the book. But Jennifer Armentrout, it's a router. It's kind of nostalgic for me because it was part of my young adult reading days with the Lux saga, and even though I did not finish that, I have always wanted to actually pick up other of her work. I cannot remember anything from her writing style to her voice, or like anything that is very unique to the writer, but one thing that I will say is that I think she has a thing for eyes, because even in the Lux saga, she tries to stress or like try to point out the color of X character, and kind of like how strange or how unique the color is, and the same thing happens on From Blood and Ash with a particular character on the story. So maybe she has a thing for eyes, who knows. That's the only thing that I can actually remember from that other series that I just mentioned, that I don't want to keep saying the names of it. From Blood and Ash follows our main character, Poppy, and she is the maiden of her nation, so she needs to stay pure, but she's also considered the maiden because she has this gift or this like special power, and she needs to keep herself a virgin and pure until the time of her ascension. Enters the man candy from the story, Hawk, who is a soldier who ends up being her guard, and there's just this connection and attraction between them that doesn't let her, or doesn't make her want to keep living the life she is currently living. If I make any sense. I believe that this is definitely one of those books for the fans of Sarah J. Maas, specifically if you like the ACOTAR series. It gives me the same vibe or feeling, and I feel like it also has like almost the same formula, where we have our main character who is kind of innocent but also pretty fierce, and we have our counterpart, or male character, who is super hot and very mysterious, and no one can figure it out where he came from, but somehow no one questions it, and just because he's really hot, So it does like gives me those Akatar vibes, as well as the sexual tension between them, and the fact that nothing can really happen because she is still set out on the type of life that she's been given. And she needs to stay a maiden. I feel like I found myself thinking more negatively than positively with the story, just because instead of focusing more in the fantasy part of the story, it has a lot to do with romance, and I kind of like understand that, because that is what it's gonna move her into deciding different from her for her life. It still doesn't. I feel like I find myself craving more development into the fantasy and the plot than actually the romance part of it. But that's just personal preference, I think, and it just didn't deliver for me. But I'm still interested into figuring it out, what happened on the next book, especially because, like I said, I have some theories. This book is very predictable throughout, since the beginning, when you get the mention of this specific character, and I'm thinking, I wonder if this character is going to be this character, and then the end of the book comes and you're like, yep, I was right. All in all, I gave this book a 3-star rating because I enjoyed certain aspects of the story, and at the same time I am pretty interested into following up with the story. Sometimes I am a believer that first books do set the world and the characters, and sometimes in many cases the story does pick up in the second book, so I am giving them the benefit of the doubt. And like I said, I have my theories that I do want to put out there and see if they are actually true. The second book I read, it was a book that I had been expecting for a while, and that gave me life because I am such a sucker for the series. You either hate or love the series, but I happen to like him. I got this book at the Good Choice Readings book signing, and the book is How the King of Elfame Learned to Hate Stories. I just have a soft spot when it comes to Cardan. I know that, like I said, a lot of people hate it. I love the stories, the books, and especially this book, because we get to see Cardan's perspective, and as well how Cardan grows up throughout the years, from the time that he is a not toddler, but since the time that he is a kid, all the way till after Queen of Nothing. And it was just I read this super quickly too, and I just find myself going back to the stories before. We also follow a character that comes out in the first story, and it actually also comes out on the last story, but throughout the book we also see her popping up on certain stories, and I love it because we see Cardan and all the things that he had to do, or the perspective that we have from him from the first video, and even throughout from the first book, and even throughout the other two, we see him changing, but we don't read his perspective, basically. And on this book we do see what is on his mind at the time of certain events, and I just love how vulnerable I feel like he was, and how he had to do certain things for him to survive, because at the end of everything, that's all he was doing, trying to survive in this cruel fairy world. So I was so enamored with him and his story, and also when he was finally I loved also how he thinks that he despises humans, but you see him doing certain things that show country, as well as how he thinks that he hates Jude, but secretly he's pining all the time, and he thinks that he hates her because she wants to be part of the fairy were so bad when she can just leave. And I don't know, it was just I love Cardin. Like I'm probably super biased. Like I love him from his character, from his aesthetic. Like I love everything about him. But I also my favorite part of the whole book was when he is setting himself into to go and hunt for this monster that they're supposed to be looking for, and he leaves Jude because he knows how Jude is probably gonna get herself into a lot of trouble, and he also kind of figured out what monster is the one that they're trying to find. And he goes to this, I don't know if it's like a bookstore or like a convenience store, and he's trying to make himself look like a regular human boy. And but from the moment he opens his mouth, you can definitely tell he is different, and he's like a method actor that is trying to portray a Renaissance character. But it's just, I was laughing. I'm gonna read you a little piece so you know what I'm talking about. So in the story, he is actually looking for a map, and the cleric tells him, like, oh, that's so weird, like, people nowadays don't use maps because they have cell phones. And Cardin is kind of like just listening, and he asks for a map, and he says, might you have some means by which I can navigate your land? And I could not stop laughing because I could actually imagine him, like, acting all cool and suave, and then opening his mouth and not sounding anything like a regular human. So the man kind of like gets like, oh, well, that's weird, like, we don't have any, it's kind of like odd for someone to request for that, but like, let me look for one. So he ends up giving him one, and oh no, he kind of like explained to him that this is what they have, and it kind of like, I think it's a book or it's like a guide that shows places from the city that they're at. And he then answers, very well, sir, I shall have it. Like, that definitely doesn't sound like a regular teenage boy. I don't know, I don't know if people might think that's weird, but I was swooning over him. Like, anything that Cardin does, I'm just gonna swoon over it. So I gave this book 5 stars. It was just my favorite, and this is also my first 5 stars of the year. So there you have it. I'm probably gonna be very biased anytime that something comes out. This is also an illustrated book from Ravina Kai. Look at his gorgeousness. It's just when I was actually like looking at the pictures in this, it reminded me of the style of the illustration reminded me of a book I read when I was younger, probably in like elementary, and the name of it was Peluso. In Spanish, I think I was a while back I was looking for it, and I think it's called Small Fur. I cannot remember, Irina something, I think it's the writer, but it reminded me a lot of the style of the illustration, and even though like it's not the type of art that I would like, because for some reason I remember reading that book and feeling a little scared as a child, when I saw this illustrations, I was kind of like iffy about it, but then I realized that this art style is just so Holly Black. Like, you can definitely see her picking this artist and hit her illustrations, because it's just so her. But yeah, I gave this book 5 stars. Next book is a young adult contemporary that I was interested into reading because of the synopsis, but also because of the cover, and that is By the Book by Amanda Sillett. I got this Boro from the LA Public Library, I think, as an ebook, and honestly, like, I don't want to say much about this book because I try to do a book talk about it, and I was not able to finish it, because somehow the more that I will talk about it, the less I will like it. I just feel like it was not what I was looking for. It's not a bad book by any means. It's just that I didn't find myself fully enjoying it, and maybe that's why I wasn't able to say much about it. I am gonna insert some of the clips and some of the things that I wanted to point out, but I was not able to actually make or say something constructive or productive. I don't know, like, I feel like this is one of those books that the more I thought about it, the less I liked it. It's so weird. I still give it 3 stars because I'm always a sucker. I feel like this is also a Pride and Prejudice type of retelling in certain with certain aspects of the story, as well as there's also the other 3 characters who become Mary's friends, that also remind me of other heroines from James Austen's novels, and I feel like that's basically what I got from the book. It's kind of disappointing because I even struggle to remember some of the names, and that's how I know that I'm really not into a book.
Hey guys, it's Ale. I just wanted to pop up really quick here because I am cutting this video here. I am having some issues with the clips I recorded after my battery died, and they need a little bit more editing than I thought, and I just wanted to post at least half of this video right now. So until my second part, adios.